Well, the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection has released. I've been playing it for the last, 3 or 4 days. I've only had about 10 hours worth of playtime, but I think it's enough for me to formulate my own opinion. I do want to say first off, I was never going to review this. I had no plans to. Enough people have asked me now to please review it or let me know what you think. So I'm going to give you kind of like my overall review as it stands currently. My original plan was to actually just compare Mortal Kombat 4 emulation to a real Mortal Kombat 4 cabinet. I love MK4. I'm one of the rare people who thinks it's a super fun game. It's never been emulated properly, so I was very excited for that. I will talk about a little of that at the end of this video, or near the end of this video. Let's first start by me saying was not given this for free. I paid for it like everybody else. I have zero affiliation with anybody over there. I did actually reach out ahead of time and say, hey, I would love to test MK4 for you ahead of time if you'd like. When Killer Instinct came out for the Arcade 1-Up, I have a real KI cabinet. I bought the Killer Instinct Arcade 1-Up, and I found a lot of major problems that have been issues with the emulation before it even came to the Arcade 1-Up. Code Mystics actually made the Xbox emulation for Killer Instinct, and both major issues appeared in that Xbox emulation and the Arcade 1-Up. So I made a video about it, and we got that fixed, thankfully. I say we. I didn't fix it. I pointed it out, and soon after, they were on top of fixing it and even had me test a few versions down the line. So I'm happy to say that got better, and I'm hoping this entire collection gets better. I did reach out, like I said, ahead of time. I did not hear back. I have no affiliation with them, paid for it. So let's move on. That way you guys know some backstory and you have context. I'm not here shilling or anything like that. First thing I want to talk about is the menu system. I think it's a solid experience. It's not anything that's gonna blow me away. It's not anything that I'm disgusted by. I think it was well done. I don't really like the look of the arcade cabinets on the pictures. I think they don't look like the real arcade cabinets. They could have just taken pictures of the arcade cabinets they have at NetherRealm Studios and done some Photoshop work, but that's fine. It's not that important. It's just kind of a disappointment because it doesn't really look like the shape of this iconic Midway cabinet that everybody loves. The crypt is cool. I like the documentary stuff. Beyond that, I'm not going to go too deep into the character exploration. It's nice that it's there. I'm never going to sit there and jam out to Mortal Kombat music, but it's also nice that it's there. I do want to talk about the console and handheld stuff quickly. I'm not that big of a fan of the console stuff. As a kid, I always wanted the arcade version. We have the arcade versions. It's great to be able to go back and be nostalgic and try the console versions. And I'm sure some of you actually prefer the console versions, having never really encountered some of the real arcades. And a console was your original intro to Mortal Kombat. I fully get that, and I hope you guys have a great experience with it. I've played a little of it. It seems fine. It's not perfect, I'm sure, but it seemed okay to me. I'm not an expert in that field, though. I am a little excited to try the handheld versions. There's some on there that I've never tried. Let's get to the meat of this emulation for me, which is the Mortal Kombat arcade versions. Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3, Ultimate 3, and WaveNet seem mostly fine to me. I think there's a weird issue with the contrast where the blood looks a little off, or the colors look a little bit off in general. Everything about it seems a little weird to look at, but it's not like it's game breaking or it's not something that's going to totally ruin the experience. Something that does kind of ruin the experience is the input lag. It is noticeable. It's probably as bad, if not worse, than the Arcade 1-Up emulation, which in my opinion is nearly unplayable, especially once you get to play the arcade cabinets again and feel how instant all the input signals are. Another weird thing I noticed, especially on Mortal Kombat 1, is it feels as if changing the difficulty doesn't really do that much. It's like the AI is extra aggressive on this emulation of it. I don't know if that's just something I'm feeling because I'm not great with the controller versus joystick and buttons, but I'm noticing something feels odd about MK1, but it plays okay, it's tolerable, and it's a decent emulation of it. I don't notice the issue about the difficulty with Mortal Kombat 2, 3, and Ultimate 3, and I can actually confirm that it is changing the difficulty by using the EJB menu. You can get into the EJB menu and then run the CPU board test. After that test is finished, you will be sent back to the test menu, not the EJB menu. And you can actually see that it is changing the difficulty to very easy or to whatever you set it on. But like I said, those games seem to actually change the difficulty and they seem to run normally as far as that goes. However, on Mortal Kombat 1, you can't get to the test menu by using the EJB menu, unfortunately. I do think it's interesting that they gave us all the options to unlock the characters, to jump right into a fight with Reptile. All that stuff's kind of fun, and it's just a quick emulation hack. Things like that are interesting to me, and I do like to be able to jump right into a fight with Reptile because he's so difficult to actually get a chance to fight normally. Now, I'm not a giant fan of Mortal Kombat 3 and Ultimate 3, but I did play a little bit of it. Felt pretty normal to me. You guys will have to let me know in the comments if everything is completely messed up in those. There is a weird thing with the sound in Mortal Kombat 1. I've heard some weird pops and odd pitch changes in the other emulated games. It's nothing that's going to ruin the experience, but it definitely takes you kind of out of it, and it feels a little bit odd to me. And I don't know what the sound issue is. It's almost like the pitch is changing, as I said before. I do want to talk about something I like about the collection, which is the scanline filters, the TV curved look, and the arcade cabinet. I know this hasn't been everyone's favorite feature. Normally I hate the scan lines because they never look quite right. The curved look never really looks quite right either. But I have to say, to me, this one looks pretty good. And you have to keep in mind, I spend a lot of time looking at actual CRTs and playing Mortal Kombat, and I was pretty impressed by them. One thing that was really impressive to me is when you have the arcade cabinet filter on with the curved TV look, you can actually see reflections from the fake screen on the fake bezel, which I thought was really an interesting touch, and I was pretty impressed with that. I don't know if anybody's pointed that out yet. I haven't watched any other reviews just because I didn't want to taint my own thoughts of the game. I wanted to get my thoughts out there before I saw what everyone else was saying. I found that to be pretty impressive, and it happens on the console emulation too, from what I can see. So good job there, Digital Eclipse. I would love to hear what you guys think of that in the comments as well. Personally, I feel like that's one of the best things they've done in this entire collection. Let's talk about Mortal Kombat 4. I still plan to do my deep dive where I compare the emulation to the real arcade cabinet, but I will say a few things right now that I think about it so far. 2 or 3 things really stand out to me as a problem, and I'm hoping they'll be fixed before I even do my comparison. One major problem is if you are on the right side of the screen, it doesn't matter if you're player 1, player 2, whoever is on the right side of the screen, you can run through your opponent on the left side of the screen. That is a big problem when you're trying to run up and do a combo. If you're kind of sloppy about your execution, you might end up on the other side of the player and your combo will be dropped. This is an issue that appears in the MAME emulation, or it appeared in the MAME emulation. Someone emailed me and told me recently that that has been fixed in a recent MAME update. So I'm really hoping that Digital Eclipse is going to be able to fix that soon and we won't have to deal with that either. Another major problem is the game crashes frequently if you do Reptile's acid vomit fatality. It is something that does exist on the real arcade hardware. It will crash occasionally if you do that fatality. On Legacy Collection, it's crashing, I'd say 8 times out of 10. So that's a big issue. It can break the game, and it even ruins the rewind feature in some cases. You can't even get out of it without rebooting the whole game. That's highly disappointing to me. There are other problems with the MK4 emulation. I'm not going to go too deep on them now. I'll get to that later. Just minor stuff for the most part. It kind of feels like the difficulty's broken on that game as well. I can't really prove it because I can't access the service menus, but I think that there's something odd about the difficulty, it not being set properly. And the AI feels overly aggressive. You'll especially notice this when you fight Shinnok. If you run up to him and try to start a combo, he's going to do a combo before you ever get a chance to in most cases. There is some good that came out of the Mortal Kombat 4 emulation. Normally I hate when they go messing with these games and make them look smoother. However, that 4 times rendering makes it look a hell of a lot better on an LCD screen. The CRT is always going to be king in my opinion, but the LCD with the 4 times rendering makes it look really pretty good. And it's not something that looks like the game's been super altered. I'm actually a fan of it, so good job there, Digital Eclipse. And the Legacy Collection of Mortal Kombat 4 actually has something over the real arcade cabinet. The real arcade game will crash when you beat the game with meat and a reboot. You don't get to see an ending. However, if you beat the game as meat, you get to see whatever character's ending that you picked as meat. So for example, when I streamed this the first day, I was playing as Tanya, and I said, oh, the game's gonna crash because I was meat. Well, the game didn't crash. I got to see Tanya's ending with meat. In fact, I went through and did everyone's ending and recorded it with both characters as meat, and it's pretty hilarious. I'll link to the compilation video in the description. I got a good chuckle out of it, and that's something kind of cool because, like I said, it doesn't exist in the real arcade, and in fact, I don't think you can do it in the console versions either. I could be wrong, but I don't recall being able to see meat in an ending ever. That's all I'm going to say about the Mortal Kombat 4 emulation for now. Again, I'm going to do my big video on it soon. I'll nerd out and really get down to the deep dive on it, like the nitty-gritty. In fact, most of it's going to be nitpicking stuff, but it's stuff I've noticed that's different. Let's talk about the online experience, which is just abysmal. It is horrible. In fact, I've only played 8 matches online because it's such a terrible experience. The input lag is horrendous online. The stuttering of the audio, the popping, the just flat out pausing in mid-game is just makes it unplayable. It's not a fun experience, and I would just recommend you don't even bother with it right now until they get a patch out. We can't pick who we want to play with. I was trying to play with Daryl Sung on a live stream, and we just kept hoping we would get randomly put together, and we never did. We tried like 5 times, and it never happened. So we've got to get lobbies together. We've got to be able to invite people. They say all of this is coming. I don't know if it is anytime soon, but I'm hoping we'll get an update soon that will fix a lot of this. Right now, it is a horrendous experience, as I said earlier. In closing, I think if I had to compile all my thoughts so far on the collection, I would say some of it's good, most of it's bad. And I think that's just kind of how low budget video games are now. I don't think they had a huge budget on this. If you want a game to come out and be perfect in modern times, you're going to have a AAA budget, or you're just going to have to sit and wait for updates to trickle in. It kind of sucks how we end up being like beta testers, which honestly is why I've been far more attracted to playing my arcade games and playing modern video games these days. It just feels like you're paying for the product too early, you're getting an unfinished version, and that's exactly what it feels like here. That said, it could end up being polished down the line, but you're going to leave a lot of players with a really bad taste in their mouth, and they may never come back. There's a lot of people who are more than content to play on Fightcade, so I think they kind of blew their chance here in the beginning, and they are going to have to really fight hard to win back some of those fans who have just given up on them immediately. If I had to rank the game 0 out of 10 right now, I'm going to say it's a 4.5 at best, and maybe more like a 4. I know some people will not agree with me. I would love to hear what you say in the comments, though. Let me know your ranking, 0 to 10. I'm going to be surprised if anybody is over an 8, but hey, maybe you're excited about it. Maybe you've never been able to emulate these games at home. Maybe this is the best way for you to play the arcade at home and most convenient way. So let me know in the comments what you think about it. I would love to hear the opinions. I always like a little bit of friendly debate too. Maybe if I disagree with you, I'll challenge you on what you said. But I have a feeling I'm going to agree with most of your thoughts on this, because I think most people feel about how I do, if not way more negative than how I feel. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope I kept it quick enough. I'm talking to future me as I'm editing this. If I didn't keep it quick, I apologize, and thank you for making it this far. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.